I hate to say it, but so many police officers talk like prisoners do, where they count down time. I've got 10 years down, 10 years to go. 15 years can't go by fast enough. I'm stuck here for several more years, but when I get out, I'm going to live my life. Man, I've made it this far. Might as well do the full term so I can get that retirement pension. This video is not to persuade you whether or not to get out of the profession. It's so that you can have a healthy mindset and a healthy outlook and do the right thing for your family, your friends, and the career. So I have with me former police officer of 15 plus years, Scott Lake, talk about police retirements and what you can do once that day comes where you're no longer working in law enforcement, which happens to everyone in the profession, whether you stay in and retire or you get out early. You do not want to miss this information. So when you left after 17 years, you were a lot more closer to that retirement package. I'm sure someone said, "Are you crazy? You're going to lose your pension." Like, what do you have to say about that when it comes to people who are holding on to it because of this pension?
Here's what I can say. It's not as good as you think. This is something that I've termed in my own mind the pension myth or the pension fallacy. It's not that the pension doesn't exist. Yeah, you'll probably if you do your 20, 25, 30 years, whatever it is, you'll probably get that pension and you'll have some kind of paycheck for the rest of your life. So first of all, it's not going to meet every need, because we see that usually there's a health insurance need, or it's great that you can retire in some places and start drawing a pension check at age 50. Lord willing, you got 25, 30, 35 more years of life left. You got to do something. A lot of people, I was no different. You think, well, I got this time in the pension. This is my only financial option. If I don't have this, I have nothing. All this time is wasted. What am I going to do? Really, all that is a lack of knowledge on the part of the person thinking that. I know that was the case for me. It was a lack of financial knowledge on what a pension really is and what it means. So what I was able to do, because like I said, I had a piece of a pension from a state agency. I had a piece of a pension from my municipal agency. My first agency, I got all that and I didn't cash out, but that money was available with a small amount of interest for me to roll into penalty free, no taxes, no penalties, roll into another financial product. So that I sent over to an IRA. In case you didn't know this, a lot of states are broke and their pension systems are broke. And so they're not making a lot of changes and opening up a lot of opportunities. Yeah. Our political environment has not gotten any more sane, as we're all aware.
Right.
So, this kind of goes back to, don't rely on the government to be your provider. So I took these contributions that I had. My first agency, like I said, I rolled that with a little bit of interest into an IRA, which is a retirement product. My second agency, I got all those contributions back as well. Coupled that together, and it's a pretty good sized lump sum that's put over here in a retirement product. And I'm not a financial advisor or planner, and I won't pretend to be. So it's really important that you get someone in your corner who's not just going to say, "Oh, you're going to be fine. Here's what I'm going to do for you," but someone who can teach you exactly what those pension dollars mean and what it can grow to.
What advice do you have so far as officers who are thinking about leaving, but yet they think, well, this is all I know? What do they need to think about so they know that they're going towards the right field and not, running out of a negative emotion, instead pursuing an opportunity?
Yeah, I'd say two things. One is be flexible. Don't assume that you need to land in one area, and if you don't find something there, then it's not a success. Connecting and networking, never stop connecting, never stop reaching out and making connections with people who have done what you are trying to do, people who are doing the type of job that you want to do. Ask them how they got there. I started out by connecting with people who knew things that I didn't know, and by trying to learn that way. And at the same time, I was flexible, back to my first point, on where could I land? What could this mean? Now, again, that bubble carried forward with me for a little while. And I would say, I landed in one of the two places where a lot of cops land in the corporate world, either corporate security or investigation or corporate investigations. I went into an investigations role. So I can't say that it's a bad thing to go into one of those, but you are not limited to those areas. One more thing on the connecting is social media. And when I was in law enforcement, like a lot of people, I did not touch any kind of social media with a 10-foot pole. And I still stay away from most of it. I just didn't want myself out there like that. I stood by that until the point I started to apply for jobs. And somebody told me, a trusted person in my life that was in the corporate world already said, you need to get a LinkedIn profile going. But I started small. I started looking at successful profiles. I kind of built mine around that. It's a social media network like any other. It's got an algorithm that'll suggest people to you. And once you start connecting, and I started to see I'm not the only one that's done this. There's this whole community. For any of you that don't know, there's this whole community of former law enforcement that are now in the private sector, whether they're retired, whether they work 2 years, whether they work 10 or 20 years.
Heck, it's how we connected.
Exactly. And so LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. I'm not any kind of social media expert, but I spend a decent enough amount of time on there to keep those connections and those touch points going.
Scott, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I can tell you're very sincere and passionate as well. And that can go a long way. And that's definitely going to help anybody listening to this. I'm sure of it.
Let me leave the listeners here with one more thought. Law enforcement, as we all know, has a big identity piece to it. And when you think about leaving that, it may feel like a walking away. Sometimes I've seen this image of the dejected officer, hanging his belt down by his arm, like kind of walking away on this dirt road, like you're giving up and like you failed in some way. And let me tell you, with the right mindset and the right just kind of career outlook, it's completely the opposite of that. I don't consider my law enforcement experience to be something that's in the past and gone and dead now. In contrast, it's actually the foundation for what I still have build off of to succeed in the corporate world. I'm proud of the fact that I had the experiences that I had. In fact, I wore my Academy t-shirt today from almost 20 years ago now, which I can't believe it's been that long. But I don't walk around with the 511 pants and my Oakleys on all the time and that sort of thing. But I'm proud of my law enforcement background. I'm glad I had that experience. I'm also glad it's over, but it's something that I have been able to think of as a foundation to the career pyramid where I'm building everything on top of that. So for any of you, just the identity can be hard to let go of, but it's not necessary. It's not you. The identity is not you. You are everything in your head and your heart. The identity, the law enforcement piece fills that void at up to a certain point, but think of it more as I'm ready to move on and build on top of that and move forward, rather than just hanging on to that. And it's really hard to let go of. You can still keep connections with all of your law enforcement buddies. In fact, after a while, they'll probably start to reach out to you and ask you how you did it and how they can do it. And maybe that's just because they're reaching the end of their career naturally through retirement or other factors, but you'll have people be real interested in your progression as you go along from the law enforcement profession.
I appreciate it, man. That was great.